Really, the only way to put it is like it started with just tossing a frisbee. Disc golf wasn't a sport to us. And then it was 2017 that basically everything changed. My stepdad stopped me as we're literally out the door to go to Vermont. He's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "Oh, we're going to Vermont, got the world championships." He's like, "Are you ever gonna go back to work?" I was like, "Hey, all right, I'm making money, you know, like it's doing all right." After Worlds, I never heard my stepdad say anything more about like disc golf not being work.
Quick interruption, because we at the Disc Golf World want to thank Casey White for the opportunity to talk to him on his journey of becoming a professional disc golfer. If you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and share for more content like this all off season.
Somewhere along the way, when I was about 10 years old, we were camping in Maine. My family went every summer, and they had a kid working there. He's like 16 years old, just had a stack of lids. Like every single one was different. It's just like random frisbees. Like one of them's from like a state fair, one of them's from the bank, like all these different ones. And he could just freaking huck it and actually tell you where it's going to land. And I had never seen that because I've only ever just played catch back and forth. And it just wowed me and amazed me. And like, he could read the wind and all that stuff. And I was just like, "Yo, like, can I have one of those?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And it was just a terrible, terrible frisbee. Like nobody would ever look at that thing and be like, "Wow, let me get that frisbee." But like, he was just like, "Yeah, sure, here, kid." Then I did find like a nice like lid that I brought everywhere with me, just trying to find somebody to play catch with. And usually it was my dad, but my dad owns a plumbing business and he's his own boss, so he doesn't give himself any time off. So the like source of my obsession basically became me and my dad when he would get out of work at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and we would just throw in the front yard back and forth until the bugs would eat us alive and we couldn't handle it anymore. My dad and I playing catch with a frisbee turned into one time he's just like, "Hey, why don't we try and rent some discs and go play frisbee golf?" And I'm like, "You mean like we don't already have discs?" And he's like, "Well, I think they're different." I'm like, "All right." We set it like probably 6 months prior to the first time we actually made it onto the course. Went to Dick's Sporting Goods because it just happened to be the right day with enough daylight that we had enough time to go to Dick's Sporting Goods first, then the course. We show up, we each have one beast. We don't know what a beast is. I don't even know what anything is. We're looking at the numbers saying, "Do you know?" Like, no, neither one of us have any clue. And like, neither one of us had a phone with internet. Like, neither one of us had a smartphone. I was 12 and he's 50. So like, you know, it's just how it goes. We just went out there. I had a champion beast and he had a DX beast. We asked some guys as we're walking in the course and we're like, "Hey, we're looking for the frisbee golf course." They're like, "Oh yeah, it's just right here. You're going to see a path on the left." All right, cool. So we walked and they said it was about like 100 yards from the path on the left. Well, we took the wrong path. We just walked and walked and walked and we're like, "Oh," they said there was going to be a practice basket on the right. There it is. There's the practice basket. But it feels like we've walked like 1,000, 2,000 feet. Like we've been out here for a while. Then we were like, "All right, well, the first tee, they said we're just going to walk on it." And then it's another basket. And we're like, something's wrong. So we backtracked that fairway. Mind you, this is our first time ever even seeing a disc golf course. So we just backtracked our way to hole 10 and we're like, "All right, let's just play the back nine." Played the back nine and just had a ball. Like, just couldn't get enough of it even though we sucked. But my dad was just flinging it and I was just doing like a little one step, you know, 12-year-old kid throwing a champ beast like it's a tilt. We ran into a guy when we got to 18. He was on hole 1 and we're like, "Oh, that's where we were supposed to go." And he was just so kind enough to really just like be like, "Oh yeah, first time out." And we're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh yeah, check it out. Like this is hole 1 and hole 2's up there and this is how you come in." And we're like, "Look at this bag. He's got like 8 discs. This is insane." And he starts, you know, showing, "Oh yeah, this one's sharp and this one's not." And we're like, "This is crazy. Like, no way." And he told us about like leagues and tournaments and we just had no idea. But like instantly hooked. We end up buying like 5 more discs because I got 5 siblings. And next weekend or whatever, we took the whole family. Every single one of them was a beast. Every single one of us had either everybody had a DX beast, but I had a champion beast. Not like we knew the difference, other than mine was more expensive for some reason. I started to just take all those beasts and be like to my friends at school, like, "Hey, if we get a ride, we can go play disc golf." And my friends were into it. Like, they were like, "All right, cool." Like, we're chucking overhands. My buddy's throwing sidearms. We're just taking guesses at how the hell this thing's supposed to work. It was like a fall thing because we started in August and we played all the way through like October. Weather got cold and we gave our discs to my buddy. Like, my buddy and his dad were like, you know, it was me and my dad and my buddy and his dad. We would always play together. And they said that they were going to play like the next day. And we're like, oh, well, we can't make it. So here, just take the discs. We never saw those discs again. Now, mind you, he was still like one of my close friends, but they had no idea where they placed the discs. And that caused my dad and I to not find ourselves going disc golfing for at least like 18 months. That was October 2012. And April 2014 was the next time that we found ourselves on the course, because it was that one step of going to get discs before going to the course that was in our way. There was not a disc just sitting in front of us being like, oh yeah, here we go. It's like, now we have to detour to Dick's Sporting Goods and then have enough daylight to still make it in time for a round. My family's whole thing was like, you know, it was all sports. Disc golf wasn't a sport to us. It was just something me and my dad did that wasn't fishing, because I didn't like fishing anymore. In the meantime, like in those 18 months, I was playing basketball, I was playing street hockey, I was playing baseball. And like baseball was huge for me, mostly because it was like the one thing that my dad and I had, like, you know, just tossing a baseball back and forth. He'd take me to the ball field and I'd just like hit off the tee, whatever it was. And at this point I'm 13 and, you know, entering high school. So I'm thinking about like high school baseball, high school hockey, like all these different things in my head, because that's what my sister is successful in. She plays high school basketball, she plays high school softball, and she's really good. So it's just like, oh yes, I follow in her footsteps. April 2014 comes around and a pro shop opens up at our home course. Now, mind you, this is the only course we've ever played. It's just insanely wooded, insanely hilly and rocky. And we buy a set of discs for me, because I had the year prior bought my dad in of a starter set for Father's Day, saying, let's get on the course, let's go. Because I missed it. But it's just like, I don't have a license, I don't have a say in what the family does every day, you know? We ended up going into the store. He had a leopard, a shark, and a AVR. I got a Starlight Valkyrie, an X-Buzz, and a soft magnet. Prior to that, my dad and I would play one disc, match play, no matter what. We didn't know any other way to play. Every single round, he would beat me. And then I get putter mid-driver, and he never beat me again with more than one disc. We have played rounds since with one disc, and he has beat me. But with more than one disc, he has never beat me since. Yeah, I try and tell my dad he needs to simplify his game more than anyone, and he could be really good. This is entering high school now, summer 2014, that I didn't really know where my path was. I knew that I was going to go to tech school for plumbing, to have that as like a career with my dad. I already worked with him like since I was a kid. Like I said, basically it was all my eyes were on team sports. I get a offer from our pro shop because they see me as a young kid that's into the sport, and they say, hey, we want to sponsor you. We want to pay for you to go travel the state and play these tournaments. And I was like, well, like, aren't these tournaments like other places than Devon's? And they're like, well, yeah, like you'd be up in the North Shore and you'd be playing in like near Worcester. And I was like, oh, well, I can't do that, because my family has to take my sister to softball every weekend. That wasn't my choice, like to say, all right, I think I want to do this, so now we need to divvy up our time, like you need to take me. No, I had no leg to stand on, because my sister was like really into softball and she was getting really good. Turned into them sponsoring me into the Trilogy Challenge. I won the junior division by so many strokes, not even knowing a clue. I'm like, I didn't shoot that good. Well, I won by like 20 in junior. So I was like, okay, like that was pretty cool. Basically, little by little, realized that team sports are not for me. My freshman year, I played golf, ice hockey, and JV baseball. By the time I was playing JV baseball, I'm striking out, and I'm just like, just laughing. I'm like, nice, dude, like real impressive. You freaking swing and a miss. And I'm just going back, like laughing with my bat on my shoulder. My teammates are like, are you seriously laughing? Like, do you know whatever, blah, blah. I'm like, this is JV. This is JV, bro. I just struck out. What do you want me to do? Scream and throw my bat? Like, was that what you would rather? I'm like, you guys just don't get it. It was as soon as JV baseball ended that I got to start going to Wednesday night league at Devon's. And it was like, from there, it was like first taste of competition. I played my first C tier the next weekend. And it was just like 15-year-old kid just threw himself into the network of adults that had cars and licenses and free time. And then it was like just a chain reaction of like, I meet this guy, I meet that guy. Now this guy's giving me a ride to this tournament. This guy's giving me a ride to that tournament. And my parents basically just trusted my judgment of character. And as long as they didn't have to drive me because they were busy or they had other responsibilities, then I could do whatever I wanted to do. And it started being tournament after tournament. By 2016, I signed up for the pdga, played AM2 to start, had an AM1 win by the end of the year, and it was like just crazy to think because I didn't win anything but the Trilogy Challenge prior. So then my first win was an AM1, not Rec, not AM2. And then it was 2017 that basically everything changed. I completely like cut off anybody I called a friend from high school because they didn't play disc golf. There was no need for me to be friends with them. Like, I had friends in class so I could tolerate school until I could get back on the course. I started dominating in AM1, but I didn't know what else I was supposed to do, so I just kept playing AM1. In June 2017, I won 5 out of 6 AM1 tournaments that I played. I was going to Junior Worlds because the prior year I just like played enough tournaments that I got enough points to qualify. Junior division's like, you need 90 points. I'm like, I got 90 points in my first event of the year. Like, I moved up to pro right before Junior Worlds with fully intentions of declining cash as if I was gonna make cash. First event, got 5th place at a C tier. Second event at my home course, I was like on bottom card. And the guys on my card are talking about like, oh yeah, I just play MPO as long as I don't get DFL. I'm like, what's DFL? They're like, dead fucking last. I'm like, I didn't even consider that as a possibility. I'm playing with guys that are only worried about dead fucking last. There's no way that's gonna be me. Well, I charged right up the leaderboard and got 3rd behind the 2 best players in the state. And the next weekend I went to Junior Worlds and I was like, you know, like, man, if I make the cut at Junior Worlds, that would be awesome. Well, through 2 days of the tournament, I was leading. I was in the lead, and it was just like my dad and I got on a plane. We just went out. I'm like practicing courses, like these things I've never done before. It's like we showed up on Sunday. I played 2 courses that afternoon, and then Monday I played 2 more, and then the tournament started Tuesday, and I ended up getting 3rd place. 4th place behind me is my buddy Trevin. That you know on tour. The amount of like gratitude and like home support that I felt not just in that one experience, like, yes, I like played well, but at the same time, it was like I had no expectations. I just wanted to make the semifinal cut, and then I'm literally contesting for the win. I couldn't believe it, but I was just like so happy, and my dad was so proud of me. And then it was just like, well, nothing to do here but just start playing pro and see how much money I can make, because that's a Junior Worlds performance that I want to hang my hat on. That was the start of my senior year. By February vacation, I flew to Las Vegas. April vacation, I flew to Illinois. And just like one after another, I was just making the time work. And going to a tech school, I was going to work with my dad every other week instead of school. So I'm making money during the week. I'm making money on the weekends. And I'm just like, man, like, you know, this is awesome. This is my life. Like every single week I'm making money, and then I'm making bonus money at disc golf tournaments. I had a restaurant job at that time, but once summer hit, I'm like, it's either plumbing or disc golf. There's no time for anything else. By August, September-ish, when the pros roll into town, it was my first time hosting. I hosted Chris Clemens, Thomas Gilbert, and Jordan Castro. After the first round, I had looked up to Chris like a god at that point. After the first round of MVP, him and I were on the same card. We were like tied for 13th or something like that. It was unbelievable. You know, I didn't finish the tournament that well, but still, it's just like that glimpse. You just got to get something to just edge you forward. Like, you were in 13th after the first round. That's awesome. People at locals are like, you were under par through 2 rounds in the MVP. I'm like, yeah, but like, I've shot a shitty second round, you know? They're like, who cares? I'm like, all right. Then I go to Worlds, and I started in the B pool, shot a 1 under, and then a 5 under on Fox. Moved up into the A pool. Like, that's pretty cool. I'm playing 2 of the best players from Maine. And I shot a 9 under on Fox Run, 1067 rated as a 973 rated MPO player. The only people that beat me that day were Josh Anthon and Matty O. I beat everybody else, or tied. I tied a couple guys too. And it was just like, just that one day of like, these pros that I've always like been like, oh, I can't wait to watch them at Maple Hill. They're like, nice shooting, dude. I'm like, wait, they saw that I shot that? I'm like, all right. Right before I went to Vermont, we were coming from Nantucket. My stepdad stopped me as we're literally out the door to go to Vermont. He's like, where are you going? I'm like, oh, we're going to Vermont, got the World Championships. He's like, are you ever going to go back to work? I was like, hey, all right, I'm making money, you know, like it's doing all right. After Worlds, I never heard my stepdad say anything more about like disc golf not being work. And at that point, it was still just a side hustle. It was a passion rather than a, you know, income source. And then 2019, it's basically just like I wanted to establish myself as the guy to beat in Massachusetts.
Big shout out to Casey for letting me interview him on hole 17 at Nevin during the championship. Too bad the camera died, but I'm sure we'll have him on in the future. For now, if you want more, check out the full unedited interview over on Patreon.
Welcome to the Patreon. I don't know how to intro these things, but you're paying to watch it, so you're probably okay with it.
Well put. Well put. I couldn't state it any better. Fuck, let's go. How
The
about
worst pros to film
the worst pros to film on tour?
on the tour of disc golf. Yeah.
You want to go or you want me to go?
I'm going to kick it off with